This right here was the entire centerpiece of an argument earlier on the internet this week with the bad opinion of should this card be banned, because evidently this card is so overpowered that it shouldn't exist in the modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Should Triple Tactics Talents be banned? Let's dig on into this, shall we? 38.4% of you still have not hit that subscribe button. We're super close to 95,000. 3 seconds of effort will get us one step closer, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. So after watching monkeys fling poop at each other, the YouTube video, yeah, it was actually really interesting. We came back to the consensus of today's topic. Yes. Should talents be banned? Now, this thread was anything but civil. You had the standard shenanigans that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community likes to do to each other, from the standard, you don't know what you're talking about, you're bad at this game, get good, don't be a scrub, all the way down to, well, maybe you're right. Yeah, people actually justify this. So, what makes talents ban-worthy? Well, if you have a Dragoon on the field, you typically deserve to lose the game once you get when you get talented. All your opponent's got to do is bait out the negate, and guess what? This talent now steals your 4,000 attack monster for them to attack you. Well, that's good. Now, in every other matchup in the Quantumverse here, talent sucks. Alright, the specific example that I wanted to point out was the Dragoon one, because that was the one that was referenced quite a lot on the thread when you look at talents as a card. Now, I can tell you that there are a lot of matchups. Okay, so Tri-Brigade, if you can force your opponent to revolt you, to force out the Shirog, so the Shirog can interrupt you, then you can talents them. But at every other point in the day, talents in that matchup is awful. Alright, so your next matchup that I would want to deem talents to be good for would be Prank Kids. Okay, so if we talents Prank Kids player only after they battle and butler you, which means you have to set up a board for something of use for them to pop, once again we're in the same situation of, this is a card that's a direct response to another card. Now, I'm not using hand trap examples just yet because we're looking at the boss monster side of things here. So, Dragoon, Battling Butler, and Shirog are the real interruptables on the opponent's turn. The next one that comes to mind is Shaddoll Invoked. Alright, well, at this point in time against Shaddoll Invoked, alright, Wind's not going to interrupt you at all. And, well, for talents to resolve, alright, like, yeah, it's going to floodgate you, but it's not something that you can talents away. Now, obviously, if they end on Makaba Winda and they do Makaba, then you can talents problem solved, right? Like, that's fair in games, all right, all is love and war there. So that's fine. But why do we need to call for this card to be banned? What really had the gears grinding in this person's head that said talents is an unfair card? Now, in 95% of the situations in modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, cards that are answers to other cards people deem unfair. Now, trust me, there's a huge amount of people out here that you wouldn't even think about that cry about Called by the Grave. Alright, there are so many people out here that want Called by the Grave banned, it's absurd. But Called by the Grave is an answer to an answer in the same regards that talents is. Now, the other argument that I heard on the thread from a few people that were talking about talents was, well, having 3 card effects on one card is a bit absurd. I don't think so. I think making a card like talents that can only be triggered at a point where you can have it as an answer to an answer, now we get down here to the hand trap side of things. So, talents is going to be a card that you can generate some sort of advantage off of hand traps, besides, you know, the boss monsters and Dragoon. But with Dragoon seeing less play in the modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh!, what value do I really get out of this card? This card sucks, man, unless you get hand trapped. Alright, now, the big hand traps in the room, Ash has kind of seen a little bit less play. Imperm's kind of big ol' suck right now. Alright, and then you get down here to, well, Effect Veil or Ghost Bell see some play, but if your opponent doesn't do anything to you, like, they just look at their hand traps and hand them like, eh, make your board. What are you going to do? Like, at the end of the day, you just kind of are free to set up and do your thing. So, talents, once again, goes through that test of, this sucks. Like, why does this card need to get banned? Now, the trade-off is the take effect is your most insane value for this card. All right, for sure. But if you're going first, all right, then, okay, sure. You can look at your opponent's hand and take a resource away from them. If they ash you and you go ahead and you fire the talents, well, congratulations. You now get hand knowledge to disrupt your opponent. All right, now you can see what your entire opponent's play is going to be, and then you can make your board set up to the point of, well, hey, now I can counter your strategy. In that regard, all right, in specifically that instance where you have enough gas to continue on with your combo and set up around your opponent's entire strategy based on the hand-looking knowledge, then that's fine. But if you're simply just talking about talents in the regard of, oh no, you took my boss monster, change of heart's unfair, then yeah, I guess it's completely ban-worthy. But I feel like at that point in time, it's just players complaining about cards that they shouldn't be needing to complain about. Now, the other argument I heard was the absolute worst, and I dislike my community for this. But of course, there's always the one or two people that are going to comment and go, oh, he's just poor, he can't afford them. If he had them, he'd understand. I hate that argument so much from this community, but unfortunately, it's going to be the same logic that happens all the dang time. Until a card gets reprinted, there's always going to be that one guy that's going to shame it behind the paywall and be like, well, you don't understand. Like, if you had talents, it'd be fine. It's just somebody else that lost to a card that they couldn't afford. I hate that mentality so much by the community, but it is an interesting one nonetheless. All right, does the situation really change all that much, whether or not they can afford the card? That's up for your perception and your reality. But as I'm making this video, I think this was just a simple cry more post. I feel like looking at talents as a card, yeah, 3 effects is powerful, but we need cards in the game. You know, we've already fundamentally designed all these hand traps to counteract these strategies, all right? Like, too many hand traps in a format is troublesome, but now, we're at the era now where we have to make these cards. We have to make things like Nibiru, Dark Rule No More, Talents, Droplets. We have to design these cards to counter these other cards, because when you initially make too many receptive answers, you know, immediately to one thing, then you have to make more interesting outs to things. That's where we go back to the people are complaining about Called by the Grave. Oh no, negating my hand trap is so unfair. Yes, I think multiple Called by the Grave is a little bit insane. All right, and that's where you can make the argument of, well, when Crossout Designator comes in to the game, now you're going to have to see an entire new dimension of deck building, because now players are going to have to play cards to counteract certain strategies. Where you see these random OCG builds out here that are playing these one of Space Rocks, and you're like, well, why are they playing? It's simple, my dear Watson. It's because they need to be able to cross out Designator, the stupid Nibiru, so that they can play the game. It's literally a central combo to do its thing. You know, if Talents, you know, the topic of this video, was a quick play spell card, oh, this card might actually be borderline ban-worthy. All right, being able to take something on your opponent's turn, Widow Anchor. Being able to look at your opponent's hand. Imagine this. All right, your opponent activates a monster effect. You shoot a Talents from your hand. All right, it feels like it's a different story if it's a quick play. All right, God, could you imagine just the pure insanity that it would have? It'd just be a little bit better. I don't think it would change all that much. Like, receptive answers are very good for future Yu-Gi-Oh card design. I just feel like people like to complain about any old thing. So, yeah, if you're complaining about Talents out here, but you're not complaining about better cards. The other interesting thing I took away from the thread was Droplets also is as bad as Talents, which I did find that interesting, actually, because a lot of players aren't going towards Droplet anymore. They're focusing more on the aspect of just, oh, you hand trapped me. All right, like technically playing cards that are outs for other cards does sometimes consistently hurt deck building if your opponent just doesn't choose to do anything. Unless you're Zeus Turbo, on the other hand, though, where your entire game plan is just Zeus, 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 Zeus. So guys, we're going to wrap up this video with a very simple question. Do you think that Talents deserves to get banned. I do want to read some of your comments, so feel free to leave them down below. Feel free to write me books of text for anything that you feel might be important or relevant to the banning of this card. And of course, guys, as per usual, smash the love and crap out that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on any more awesome content that we might throw at you guys. So guys, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I will see your beautiful faces back here, well, later on today with some more cool content. You guys have a good rest of your day, all right? Peace out. Thank you, patrons, for making the ride never truly end. Without you guys' support, well, I would probably be doing Truffle Shuffle videos for a living. Guys, please check out Vanquill40 for all of your Cardfight Vanguard content brought to you by Vanquill40. And if you are looking to pick up singles, check out mquillgames.com for your trading card game needs. Thanks for watching, everybody.